I cannot observe.
Hi, I go by Neila. I am a female MC, or just an MC in general. I never really think about the female part. I am here with Danny Guerrero, like Tommy, and this is Meet the Artist.
What it is, because now just what was. Face flash from my ghost face with medium swords cut. Catching fireflies instead of lies punching my gut. We all sabotage, it's either right or locust stuff.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having us in your very artful and very inspiring apartment.
I'm honored to have you here.
Let's start. Tell me a little bit about who Neila is. When and where did your journey begin as an MC?
Well, as an MC, when I was younger, we used to always listen to hip-hop tapes, so we'd write stuff down, like little raps here and there, but it wasn't until I moved to Arizona for college where I met with like the Supermarket Crew and DJ Z Trip and like that whole crew in Arizona on Fifth and Mill, and they had a whole hip-hop scene, and we were like, oh, we can make this music. So we went from being the hugest fan to actually making the music, and then at that point I also sold mixtapes and sold actual tapes. People thought I had a store, so they'd show up at my apartment, but I really just did it through the mail. And pretty much the first album came out in 1998 on cassette, produced mostly by Verse Murphy, but other producers here and there, and that's when it all began.
As a female MC, what kind of welcome have you received in today's LA hip-hop climate?
Today's LA hip-hop climate is very different from where it was back in the day. I feel like when we were younger, it was more like a family. We had like the Shapeshifter family, the Project Blow family. I had like the Acid Rain and that family. I mean, but we were all so interconnected that we saw each other at like the Request Line and at Load and not all these places. And it was all love. It was, you stood up for your own, you battled, you did whatever you could, you rapped, and it was awesome. I feel like hip-hop nowadays in Los Angeles, everybody makes music, and it's just this inundated, like, it doesn't matter if you're a woman or you're a man or you're good or you're not. It's basically how good you are at pushing yourself out there and making music that touches. It's a whole different group of people listening to the music, and it's a whole different generation. So I feel like my fans, like, I know how many albums I'm going to sell. They have been my fans since day one, and I love them to death. And so I'm not really worried about how I fit in now, but I just always want to make music that moves people, you know? And I feel like I fit in pretty much in the same place, and it might not be the most glamorous, most popular place right now in hip-hop as far as like LA or just the climate of hip-hop. So I feel like the climate now is more like trappy and bassy, and like you gotta at least conform to that a little bit if you're gonna get these new kids to listen to you. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I honestly feel about it. But I'm always gonna make the music that I made because that's what moves me, you know?
Right. And I listened to your last album. I mean, it still has the raw, organic Neila feel, you know? And that's what I love, that, you know, it still feels you know, within this whole trap music. And I mean, I go back listening to old school hip hop as well. So to me, it's like just like everything else, you know, the new is a little bit harder to get adjusted to, but you love listening to the rock.
Exactly. And then the new stuff, there's some good stuff out there. I'm really hyped on a couple of new rappers right now. And so there's good stuff. You just have to sift through a whole bunch of stuff that's not so good, you know, in my opinion.
Right, now you have to stifle. Before it was like...
It was like you liked underground hip-hop. Almost everything you listen to is dope. Like, almost. Like if they were putting music out there, they were pretty dope. I mean, from all over. From Frisco to Japan to wherever. Like if you got a hold of someone's underground tape, it was most likely 97% of the time dope, you know? Whereas now it's like, oh man, you're going to sift through 97 things to find that 3%. That's
I know. It's funny how things changed, huh? Before you would have to go out there and look for that artist, you know. Now it's like you have to go through like
and then, that's a whole nother world. You know?
Crazy how that happened, huh? What do you focus on when you sit down to write your lyrics?
I am an MC that's totally beat driven. Like whatever the beat tells me to write is what I write. I really honestly don't sit and think unless it's like a total concept. I'm with somebody like this song's gotta be about this and this, and so then I'll write about that.
Okay.
But to me, like I'm so in debt to the producer, and like so like whatever that beat makes me feel is what I'm gonna write about. And there's sometimes, like for that last album, I did my first weed song, so I took all the strands of weed and wrote it. I just finished a skateboard video song where I took the names of all the skateboard videos I grew up on and I made a song. So those songs, I sat down and think, okay, so you're gonna have to work these into the lyrics, but most of the time it's just whatever the beat
That's awesome.
moves through. It just happens.
The music
naturally.
is the one that tells you what to write.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Exactly. I'm totally beat driven when it comes to lyrics. I'll write 1,000 lyrics like on napkins and in my phone and on my notes. I'll never go back to those lyrics because if you give me a beat, I'm writing exactly to that beat. However you sequenced it, like that's just the way my mind works. You know.
Awesome.
Okay, and I see you as a spiritual human being. Do you have a ritual that keeps you balanced?
Yes, I
Okay.
do, definitely. I do a lot of things spiritually just because of my past, and because I totally believe that we are all like creatures of this universe and that we're all interconnected, right? And so
Absolutely.
a lot of the things I do are both for my brain benefit and for my spiritual like health benefit to stay grounded. I teach elementary school all day, so I have to do yoga every day because that keeps me balanced. So I work out 3 hours a day. An hour of that is yoga or meditation, 100%. I also wake up in the morning. I don't check my phone. I wait a whole hour before reacting because I don't want my brain to grow up being reactive. And I feel like a lot of people, especially in this world, they wake up first thing they're doing is reacting to stuff on like social media and stuff. So I do that. I'm trying now to read at least 23 minutes a day and then to journal every day because research has shown that every genius in the world journals. And the question is it because they journaled that they were genius, or is it because they were geniuses they journaled? And I don't need to know the answer, but I'm going to journal. So I've been journaling a lot, and that totally keeps me grounded. And just learning about other people. I don't watch the news, though, and I don't, like, engage in, like, Facebook or anything. And I think that's part of being spiritual because it keeps you protected as far as like the images that society feeds you and the thoughts that people want you to think. And so that's what I do to stay spiritual and to keep myself grounded in this world where the energy is so crazy.
How important is it for you to contribute to your community, and what do you think your best contribution to the community is?
It's funny that word communities, it's a loaded word because there's so many different communities that I consider myself part of, like my work community, the skateboard community, the hip hop community, this community, my community where I live, my apartment, right? So I would say, yes, I would not be a school teacher making very little money for so long if I didn't believe in giving back to your community and giving back to especially the youth that don't have the means and to educate themselves because I teach elementary school, but I also teach them about life and about being grateful and about what I think is important, and hopefully some of that sticks to some of them. As far as like skateboarding goes, I feed a lot of the guys that are like in broken house. Like I try to feed them at least once a week and just be positive. And hip hop as well, just be the positive thread in all, because I feel like in hip hop it's always been this crew, and I don't think it's ever going to go away from that. But I'm the one that, okay, I'm friends with everybody. I'm not choosing sides. Like just be like that positive like force in the community. I think for me it's more like lead by example. Like don't like spread bad seeds. Don't give negative energy out of things. Like just to be a good example of what it is to be a good person, like in general in any community. And I feel like those are the things that I do to contribute.
Okay, and my favorite question of all, what is your favorite quote of all time and why?
Well, that one I did have to think about. So it used to be life is 90%, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. Because I feel like I know myself, I am a reactive person. I don't sit on stuff, I just react. And so I'm trying to be like very, it's like scale yourself back. But I feel like the one quote that's resonating with me most now it's a quote about the universe, and I'm going to botch it up because I don't really know it for sure. But the gist of it is that it says the funny thing about the universe is that it'll give you a lesson. And if you don't learn it, it's okay, because it will keep coming until you do. And I feel like that one is the one that, oh, okay, I get it, because we're all on this spiral, learning the same lessons over and over and, until we get them, you know?
Right. That's so crazy. That's a very good one. And just to wrap it up, where on social media can people follow your work?
Mostly on Instagram, so
Okay.
it's Neila333, Neila 333. And I'm on Facebook. I just started Twitter. I don't know what it is. I'm just writing high thoughts on there. And that, I think it's just Neila, or Neila gets high or something. I can't remember.
We'll link it on the description below. That's awesome. Thank you so much for having us and for doing this and for allowing us to get to know a little bit more of who Neila is.
Oh, thank you so much. It's beautiful to have you.
Oh, thanks.
Ride like you're down or drown in the pit. Gonna have more of my own song. Fly free, get down, outcome. Trust my wings to just run till everything goes dust numb. Newly improved, didn't just change the rapper. Cleaned out every chakra, climbed the Jacob's ladder. Better hug yourself, then wake up to you don't matter. Cause I'm the matter. Time is